went out for a little walk. And as I was walking, I was concentrating mostly on things that are not really, that are areas that I felt I wasn't really adequate enough. Like I concentrated on places where I felt there was some deficiency in my leadership roles, deficiency in my life skills and things like that. And as I was going around and in my mind, just saying to myself how I feel like I haven't really been able to do well in certain areas of my life, I just felt like a penny drop moment, which I think from was God reminding me, like there are so many different aspects of prayer. I felt like He said to me, like, I have so many hats that I wear. These hats are, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, above everything else, a child of God, of course. I am a teacher, I am all these different things. And I was thinking about them and I was thinking, like, most of the time when I'm thinking about myself, I tend to compactualize or make my life into compartments, if that makes sense, where I think of like, okay, this compartment is clear this part, and then there's that other compartment, and then there's the other compartment. And so I will kind of in a way always focus on, if only one of these compartments is not working well, maybe my mothering ability isn't up to scratch or isn't really perfect, then I will start beating myself up and thinking like what a failure I am. And I'll focus more on the things that are not really necessarily building me. I'll focus more on the things that I've done wrong, which again, if you remember way back, we talked about the difference between reflection and rumination. And I will ruminate on this area of my life that is not great and things like that. And I felt like a moment just to be told, like I was just like, why can't you look at those places and spaces where you are doing well? Why can't you look at those moments and opportunities where you as an individual are thriving? You can feel like I'm thriving as a mother at the moment, maybe not as an employee, or I'm thriving as a wife, but not maybe as a mother and things like that. And then looking at one single part at the moment, tearing this part apart, so to say, loosely speaking, and then from there starting to work on areas that look a little bit like have a challenge that you need to work on. And I was thinking that could be somebody here as well. I can see some of you live with me that you're thinking like, because I do not necessarily match up to this area of my life. I don't really do exactly what I want to do. So I feel like I'm a failure. I feel like I can never attain anything. I feel like I cannot be good enough and things like that. And you start comparing yourself. You start competing against other people. You start feeling inadequate. And this can result in things like, I can see you, Aqua GTFR, hello to you. You start feeling like I'm not good enough. You start feeling like I don't deserve this. And so, for example, if your life is kind of scattered around, you feel like, oh well, I have failed as a mother or I've failed as an employee. And so you focus so much on the negative, you focus so much on the things that you have failed at being, rather than looking at the things that you are good at and then kind of building from that and learning. For example, if I'm really good at my job, what are the skill sets that I use in my job that actually make me a good person? I can see you black, that actually make me a more better, a valuable employee. So that, yes, Jumbo, I can see you. So that at the end of the day, you can be able to go to the next steps and think, okay, where am I failing and what can I apply these skill sets that I have so that I can become a better person. Agua DTFR says, I failed at being a good student. I threw a chair at my teacher. You can actually focus on that failure, and then it ends up becoming like a defining moment. And you tell yourself, I'm never good enough. I'm not a good enough student. And you go into the mode of ruminating you go into the mode of condemning yourself, that you forget actually as a student you are a child of somebody. You might be, if you might be a daughter, you might be a son, you might be a brother, you might be a sister, you might be a friend, where you are thriving in all the other areas of your life. Why not just take a moment and reflect on those moments where you're good at, and then let yourself learn from those moments where you're good at, and start developing the areas that need improvement. As I was saying, like, I focus a lot on the negative. I focus a lot, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could do this better. I wish I could be a better mother, or things like that. And at the end of the day, if you're constantly living in wishland, you're constantly living in oh, I wish I could. You get to a point where it actually sucks the life out of you. It zips the life out of you. Azon, I can see you. Hello. Game Slayer, I can see you. Hello. Amber Fox, I can see you. Hi. And I was just saying, these are the things that we do, that we constantly focus on the negative. And of course, it's a human nature, right? Have you ever done something amazing? You've done an exam, and then you ended up, for example, you have 3 exams. One of the exams you score 100%, and then another one you score 40, and things like that. You can get to a point where you constantly are ruminating on that 40%, that you actually forget, I can actually sit back here, beat myself up, moan about it, but it's not going to change the 40%. But I can work hard so that at the end of the day, I can be able to go to the next step. I can be able to move and improve myself, right? So it gets to a point, Julius, I can see you. Hello. Where you go to a point, yes, Aqua, I would love to hear some of those amazing things that you've done. So if you put it in the chat, I'll be more than happy to hear you sharing those amazing things. And so when you're focusing on the negative, I just want to tell you today, negative energy can be toxic. But also, because we are human beings, we find ourselves constantly wanting to be in that negative thing. Because even if you do something great, you how long does it take you to celebrate that? Potentially a week, potentially a couple of hours, a couple of days, and then you've completely forgotten about it. However, we are not supposed to kind of live in that just negative cycle and constantly thinking, why am I not good enough? Why am I doing this? Why is my life like this? And things like that. Why can't you take that opportunity and say, hey, Claire, I'm going to focus on the places that I'm thriving. I'm going to focus on the places where I am doing well. Thank you, Ezon. I'm going to focus on the places where I feel I'm thriving, and then the negative energy that I could actually be able to focus on, I can use that negative energy kind of in a way, no, not use it, get rid of the negative energy, and then allow myself to learn, allow myself to kind of understand where's my strength, and then use your strength to become a better person. And that's just like kind of in a way helping you to be able you and myself, to be able to kind of just tell ourselves, when one of our hearts that we wear, the many hearts amongst everything else that we wear, is not thriving, that doesn't mean that that's the only part you need to look at, right? That's not the place that you can just say, because I'm not thriving as a husband, or I'm not thriving as a mother, or I'm not thriving as a child, or things like that, so my life is screwed up, so to say. There are other aspects. Why can't you look at those things? Why can't you focus on those things, right? And that makes you kind of in a way be comfortable with who you are, right? Game Slayer says, and I love to wear saree. It's an Indian traditional dress, and I'm alone at home. I haven't told my parents, so like, how can I tell them? That's a question I'm coming back to in a minute. Game Slayer says, all this makes me feel comfortable. That's the most important thing. Like, do not try to be a perfectionist in every area of your life. I mean, perfection is great, but if you can be able to get 100% in everything, why not go for that? But if there's a place where it's only 70% or 80%, why not be grateful for that? And then ask yourself, what can I do? What skill sets do I need? What development do I need? Should I need, maybe if it's a counselor, if it is working with somebody else, wherever that it is, will help you so that that you can be able to get a little bit better in life. Clom, hi, I can see you. Aqua says, I'm not thriving as a student because I threw a warm cup of coffee at my teacher. And then what else did you do? I threw a pencil at my teacher and drank her tea. That might be something that you may want to work on for sure, because I'm a teacher myself as well. And if my student did that to me, I don't know what exactly I will do, because there are some things you can excuse and say, well, this is something that they're working on. But if it's constantly a repetitive cycle, you may want to ask yourself, is this behavior helping me? Is this thing that I'm doing? First of all, just try to think of what triggers me, right? What triggers me to do the things that I do? What triggers me to throw a pen or to do whatever? And then once you figure out what triggers you, and then identify some of the things that you can do to be able to be a better student, right? Because I will be lying to you. There's also rules and regulations in some things. If you're working in an institution, for example, that throwing, it triggers me when I go to school. There's something underlying that Aqua. It's not just going to school, but there's something deep within that. It could be, maybe, are you facing some difficulties at school? Is it the school that you love? Is it an environment that you have? Do you have some role models, people that you can look up to? Or when you have an anger moment, do you have somewhere that you can let go of it, you can vent it out? Because most of the time we can have, like, I usually say our lives is like a pipe, right? So if your pipe is so full, it gets to a point where it will burst, right? But if you have an easy flowing pipe, it helps you to get to a point where you know when to vent out, you know when to release and things like that, and it can be useful. My teachers are yapping. Yeah, some teachers yap a lot. I might be one of those teachers that yap a lot. But ask yourself, in this yapping, what can I learn from it? Because if they're yapping to tell you something about life, or they're teaching you a subject, I don't know what's the subject area. I don't know where you live, so it's a little bit more difficult to give a blanket information. But if you find that, for example, they're yapping over things that are off topic, what they should be teaching, you can challenge that in a respectful manner, and you can say, well, I don't see the correlation between what we're learning and what you're telling me, because obviously you may be paying to be in school, you may be doing many different things to be there. And so at the end of the day, you can be respectful, you can challenge the yapping without necessarily getting physical. Because when you're throwing stuff, or when you're throwing coffees and drinks and things like that, that can actually be classified as an abuse. And sometimes you may actually end up being expelled from school. So at the end of the day, it might be worthwhile just processing that a little bit better. Says, yeah, telling me there is life stories, so I threw a warm cup of coffee and threw my bus past them. Wow. That's a little bit of an interesting one. So again, as I say, just try to think of what triggers you. So going back into that 100% Aqua, how does you being the different hearts that you carry or you bear with you on you, how does it really end up being divided, and your attention end up being divided, that you end up becoming a little bit more aggressive? Not in a bad way, but what I mean, like, it triggers something in you, and then asking yourself, what can I do to be a bit better? What can I engage in a conversation that is meaningful without necessarily attacking somebody else? Because I can imagine, as I told you, I'm a teacher, and I wake up in the morning, I go to class, and somebody comes back in a way and brings me, throws the coffee at me. Honestly, I wouldn't be liking it. So it might be something that you need to do about that. So that, expel my principal by putting a beehive in his office. Aqua, you need some conversation. How long have you been teaching for? So now I'm just, because I don't want to really take a lot of time. If you have any questions for me, put them in the chat. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Atsuki, is good to see you. I've been teaching for the last almost 9 years. So I have been kind of, in a way, teaching for Yeah, I started off in another institution and then I moved the new institution that I'm in. I've been teaching for almost 3 years. So I do really like, I love teaching. I usually say, if I wasn't teaching, I don't know what else I'll be doing. That's okay. What do you do for a living? I see you do vlogging. Is that like something that you do for a living, or are you a student like Aqua? um or are you just a new teacher, so you want to give me some tips? Which level are you teaching in? Are you secondary school, primary school? Are you say at college, or what level are you teaching? Ako, I'm not ignoring you. I can see your messages. Apo honey down his shirt. That's not good. That's not good at all. But that's a talk for another time. We'll talk about that next time. That's okay. You're teaching in college. That's amazing. Yeah, if you're teaching in college, you might be encountering more teenagers, like towards the end of teenagehood, like depending on where you are, for sure. If you're like, for example, in the UK, college would be like around teen, like 16, 17s and 15s, things like that. So there can be quite some tricky issues. They can be like you're dealing with tantrums, you're dealing with all those kind of things. Those are things that you can actually be able to solve and think about way forward with that. If you're teaching in a college, for example, outside the UK, it means that potentially you're teaching grown-ups. You might be also teaching, for example, teaching college. So you're teaching teachers, whichever way, because there's a lot of things at the back that I cannot just directly answer without that information. The most important thing for me that has helped me thrive in education or in academia is know your goal. Know, why am I doing this? Academia is not something to do if you're looking for money. It's more to do because of the passion that you have. And for me, there's nothing as fulfilling in my life as going for my students' graduations. When I attend graduation ceremonies, I cry a lot because I'm like, wow, looking at the journey where they have come from, the day that they joined, if I teach in a university, so the day that they joined, and seeing how they have progressed and grown as individuals really makes me so blessed, so to say. And so looking at the bigger picture, there will be discouraging times, there will be tough moments where you'll think of, why am I doing this? But do not be discouraged if you can't be able to continue investing in education, because if you invest more than trying to think of like I'm in the UK, yeah, trying to think of career progress as well. What do you want to, how do you see yourself in 10 years? Where do you want to go to in the next 10 years? If you've just started today or recently in teaching, where do you really want to see yourself in the next 10 years? And then that will help you to work through, am I having enough knowledge that I need to be where I want to be in 10 years? If I don't have enough knowledge, what can I do to build the knowledge and the skill sets that I need to? And then join other like things like LinkedIn. Networking is so important. It will be really helpful if you have other connections and people that you can always feed from. Identify a mentor, somebody that can be able to help you in your journey, and you can look out for that person, like look up to a role model as well. When it gets difficult, you can see their paths and see how they progress in their path, and that will help you a lot, especially in those discouraging moments. Guys, it has been such a pleasure having all of you with me tonight. I need to go away because I got to go for a meeting. But as always, I enjoy these quick live streams on Wednesday. So this has been Soul Care episode 31. And today was just like basically kind of general, because I'm just saying focus on the right thing. If you're not there 100%, don't look at the places where you have deficiencies. Where you focus on grows. If you focus constantly on negativity will grow. So wherever you have deficiencies, work on them, but don't let those deficiencies become a point of rumination. You can use them as a point of reflection, but do not allow them to become points of rumination, so that eventually you are using the skill sets where you feel more stronger to grow yourself as an individual, so that at the end of the day, you can constantly constantly improve yourself until you become an all-rounded human being, which may not happen on this side of heaven. We may never achieve perfection, but at least we work every single day. I usually say, my tomorrow must be better than today. My today must be better than yesterday. What can I do every single day to help me get into being a better human being, being a better mother, being a better wife, being a better child, and above everything else, of course, we know we are the children of God. We are loved, we are valued, we are called to be like Him, and that's the most important thing. Every single day will bring its own challenges, but as long as you're doing, even if it's 1% improvement, you may not necessarily notice it, but 1% improvement, eventually it compounds to become a greater measure of improvement. So it's been a pleasure catching up with you guys. As if I haven't given you a shout out, I apologize, because it may just be that I missed your message or things like that. Please forgive me. If you're new here, it's nice to have you. My name is Claire. It's been a pleasure catching up on another episode. I'm privileged to be the founder of this channel. I love everything about health and nutrition and things like that. So if you haven't done so already, why not just click on that share, like, subscribe button? It'll go a long way in supporting what we do. Pray that you have a great evening. God bless. Much love from me. Until next episode, goodbye and see you again soon. Bye.